Questions about money are among the nagging issues Biden is still considering as he weighs launching a campaign. He's decamped this week to St. Croix, a favorite Biden family vacation spot in the Caribbean, to discuss the remaining roadblocks with his wife, Jill. Biden has long disliked the time-intensive process of political fundraising. But with virtually no campaign operation in key states, he'd need to generate millions of dollars in a matter of weeks should he enter what is expected to be the most expensive presidential campaign in U.S. history. He obviously has a lot of friends among the Democratic donor community, said David Axelrod, one of former President Barack Obama's top political advisors. But fundraising today is turbocharged by social media. He's not of the social media generation. Democrats in key primary states are warning that it's becoming more difficult to persuade Biden holdouts to be patient as a crowded field of presidential contenders such as Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, California Senator Kamala Harris and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders actively fight for their support. In South Carolina, which holds the first primary contest in the South, Charleston County Democratic Party Chairman Brady Quirk Garvin said Biden's indecision has created a holding pattern for potential staffers and supporters. As time drags on, he said, he's fielding calls from some who are confused by Biden's indecision. Several have said it's concerning that he can't seem to make up his mind, Quirk Garvin said. If you're going to run for president, most people want someone who's pretty damn sure they want to be president. Biden has made clear to his family, friends, and advisors that he wants to run, but he has held off giving his team the final go-ahead to launch a campaign. Among the factors giving him pause is concern about the impact a presidential run would have on his family, particularly given his son Hunter's complicated personal history. Even so, Biden advisor Steve Richetti has been signaling to potential Democratic rivals that Biden is expected to run. Other advisors including Greg Schultz and Peter Kavanaugh have been in regular contact with potential staff across the country to ensure Biden could quickly ramp up a national organization. Biden's likely entry into the race was among the factors that led former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg to decide this week that he would not launch a campaign. Biden and Bloomberg spoke after the former mayor announced his decision, according to a person with knowledge of the conversation. That person, like others in the story, spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to publicly discuss private conversations. Several 2020 Democratic contenders have condemned super PACs in recent weeks. Warren, who has been struggling to raise money, took it a step further late last month, vowing not to court wealthy donors at all. We also are making a decision on whether or not we can fund this campaign on my conditions because I will not be part of a super PAC and to see whether or not it's realistic, Biden said. An awful lot of people have offered to help the people, who are usually the biggest donors in the Democratic Party, and, I might add, some major Republican folks. A frequent headliner on the Democratic money circuit, Biden is well known among donors but does not have a pool of big-dollar fundraisers lined up ready to commit to his campaign. And his fundraising track record is underwhelming at best. He faced little more than token opposition in his long run as a Delaware senator, requiring a relatively light fundraising burden. And in his 2008 presidential run, Biden raised barely half of the $20 million fundraising goal he set before dropping out of the race following a weak finish in the Iowa caucuses. He was outraised by 4 other Democratic candidates in the final 3 months of his campaign, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. But at least one Obama donor, Don Pebbles, a 2-time member of the former president's national finance team, expressed confidence in Biden's fundraising ability. I think he'd raise more money than several of the top candidates combined, Pebbles said, vowing to support Biden if he runs. He's the best chance that the Democrats have to win in November. Some Biden loyalists are not as patient. In Iowa, Roxana Moritz, who was part of Biden's Iowa steering committee during his failed 2008 bid, expressed concern that by waiting so long, Biden was allowing other candidates to peel off some of his supporters. The longer it goes, the harder it gets for the former vice president to consolidate support, said Moritz, the Scott County auditor. While she's still certain to support Biden if he runs, Moritz is getting anxious. "I wish that he would be clear on his plans," she said. Pace reported from Washington. Associated Press writers Meg Kinnard in Columbia, SC, Alexandra Jaffe in Des Moines, Iowa, and Hunter Woodall in Manchester, NH, contributed to this report.